Rebecca Minkoff quietly stepped into the fashion scene 15 years ago. Just a couple of years later, her designs have found their way into the closets of women everywhere, from professions of all stripes to Hollywood's biggest celebrities. Over the years, she would go from sewing products on her living room floor to running a multi-million-dollar fashion brand. Minkoff has continually shaken up the industry these past 15 years, like when she added digital mirrors to her stores, or made products available as soon as they were seen on the runway. Not to count the many times she's teamed up with tech startups to make new products. A couple of weeks ago, I sat down with Minkoff. This was before coronavirus completely changed the landscape of the working world, but her insights into how to succeed and to stay relevant still ring true. One of the things I think is super interesting about how you've built this company is your collections really mirror where you are in your life. I'm curious how you think about having your work and profession and your output revolve around where you are in life.
I think that when I started, I was 25, turning 26. And you're exactly right. I was going through this period where, Sex and the City was the rage on TV, and I wanted to have experiences like these young women were having. And as I started to realize, as I'm getting older and I'm going through this, my consumer is actually coming with me because she found me at 26. And if I don't speak to her as I'm going along this journey, I'm going to lose her. And we tried just sticking with an age. And then I couldn't really talk to her authentically because I was like, I don't know what that life is like anymore. I'm not getting any sleep and I'm a mother of 3 kids. So I think the moment we said, let's always be on that journey and obviously still talk to women of all ages. But as I'm going through these really huge, major milestone moments, that's when it's really key to just be thinking about another woman who's going through that with me. And that's what's really been working.
In the fall, you presented your spring and summer line, and you decided not to do any kind of runway.
Yes.
Would you walk us through what you were thinking there, what you were trying to achieve?
So we had been doing runway shows, and I thought with the theme of the collection, which was about celebrating women who work, seeing a model walk up and down a runway wouldn't give you that connection, that visceral, oh my gosh, this is an environment and this is who this woman is, and celebrating her. And so we transitioned to a presentation model and had these little vignettes of, the cafeteria, the file room. And as we were building these sets, I was pumping. I'm still a nursing mom. And I was like, guys, we need a pumping room. And in that pumping room, there has to be a breastfeeding mom because I'm so tired that it's still not the normal in the workplace. There's still a sad little room that you have to hide in. And in order to live my life, I have to just be out and fully there with it wherever I am. And so for me, that was really key to message and then do it again, because I think women in the workplace are still struggling with that, and I just want to make it normal. Minkoff's goal to empower women goes beyond her 60s and 70s inspired designs. For a while, she held fireside chats in her New York store, which later transformed into a podcast named Superwomen, where she interviews successful women in hopes of inspiring other women. But that wasn't enough for Minkoff. Around the same time, she founded the Female Founder Collective. Your idea is basically, if you were going to help women reach economic empowerment, the place to invest is not the Fortune 500 and trying to get more women into the C-suite, but to invest in the 12 million small businesses or businesses that women have started. Yes.
How will you know whether it's successful or not?
So we're a year and a half in. We have over 7,000 members and the seal's on over 3 million products, which I'm really excited about because as a consumer, I turn over my products all day long and that informs my purchasing decision. Is it non-GMO? Is it organic? So now you can turn over things like Birchbox or Lola or cosmetics companies and turn over, oh, woman, I'm in, right? Mm-hmm. And I think we just announced a project with UBS that gets, it's called Project Entrepreneur, and it gets women founders ready to actually take in capital and then know how to deploy it. And I think being that the numbers are alarmingly small of women getting funding, less than 3%, if you can educate more women who are primed for investment, and then they know how to use those funds when they get it. So I think I'll know it's working when I see that 80 cents become 82, 83, 84. But also as we can track these businesses as we get more sophisticated, I'll be able to say to you, these 7,000 companies or 10,000 companies have all grown by X because of, whatever it is we did to help them. Like many creative founders, Minkoff started her company with a partner,
Her brother, Yuri, entitled herself creative director. But as any entrepreneur finds out, you can never get away from the, business part of running a business. You came into this from the fashion side.
Yes.
And what has been your personal story about how you learned how to navigate the business world?
So I would say that I'm over-indexing in this because I didn't have that education and I didn't have that know-how. So I relied for the first 7 years on my brother to make all the business decisions. I was like, you're the CEO, you seem to know this, I'll focus on design. And at one point he looked at me, and I always hate admitting when he's right, but he was like, you need to evolve. You can't just be the designer in your ivory tower. You have to learn this. This is a language and a way of being. And so I was like resentfully started diving in and, getting myself educated.
And during the run up to that, how did you deal with, maybe you didn't have this, but did you ever have imposter syndrome?
It was a lot of pretending. I mean, in our board meetings, I would be looking up words under the table. What is EBITDA, right? I didn't like knowing what they were talking about or the intricate details of a complicated, global brand. And so 5 years ago, I was like, I got to learn this stuff. It's my responsibility to be as smart as I can and admit when you're wrong. I think raising your hand and be like, wait, what does this mean? It's okay. And so I started doing that all the time. I was like, wait, stop, explain this to me. And now I feel like I have a handle on the language and understanding, and I'm not perfect, I'm still learning, but I'm the first person to be like, huh? Can you explain this in layman's terms to me?
One of Minkoff's biggest pain points comes from an old established supply chain in textiles. Today, the fashion industry is responsible for 20% of all global water waste. And 85% of fashion material ends up in landfills. That's 21 billion tons of waste a year, according to the UN. Now, as Minkoff expands her lines of business, she's relying on tech to help her solve this problem. With your little Minkoff line, your first kids line, you are going for a zero waste model.
Yes.
So is this right that nothing is created until it's ordered?
Correct.
Would you explain how you came up with this idea and what the process has been like?
So we were lucky enough to come across a company called Resonance, and they have a proprietary blockchain model where everything in their facility is in white fabric. So when you start out, with this fabric, for instance, it's in this print and color. And if I don't use all of this fabric at the end of the season, it goes to Mood Fabrics and it's used on Project Runway, right? Or it goes into a landfill. So because everything is white, the minute you actually decide to order, that garment is printed. And that optimizes the fabric scraps because when you have a print, you have to usually cut around it. And this basically allows less fabric to be used in the process. And then they're using eco-friendly, earth-friendly chemicals to actually make the goods. So that eliminates a lot of the waste in water and in chemicals. And then they sew the garment and they send it off to you. So you have to wait 6 to 9 days, but you get something with far less waste, no inventory.
Are you surprised that the industry is not moving faster?
I'm shocked. Because as I'm going on the journey with my current businesses to try and get biodegradable bags or compostable plastic, goods or recycled paper hang tags, the cost and the lack of industry around it, it's ripe for disruption. I mean, and when you're working with a factory, they're doing business with 10 other people who don't want to change, so they don't want to stop and change for you. So it's not as easy as it sounds to just eliminate it all, but we're working pretty aggressively to do our best.
15 years strong, Minkoff has expanded her career in a multitude of ways. Next, she's launching a fragrance line and expanding into the beauty and wellness industry. How big of the pie do you want to get? Is this kind of thing where you look around offices and you're like, every single woman should be wearing, me, every college graduate needs to get dressed in my clothing. How do you think about the future of your brand?
I know from talking to my consumer, we're really a milestone moments brand. So we're there for the girl that just got a raise. She goes out and buys my bag. She's going to quit her job. She walks in her Rebecca Minkoff. She's going on her first, date. She puts on her leather jacket. So these are all these visceral moments that every single time I meet my customer, I get a story of, I remember the first time I had my bag, X happened. And so wherever I can touch you for that, whether it's your first home or your skin or your makeup, like categories, again, we haven't launched, I want to be there and I want you to be able to eat and have a great outfit or be able to go out at night and then pay your rent. So that's my goal, is to keep it affordable and really high quality.